Retiring by 60 is a goal many of us aspire to achieve. Unfortunately, there are a few things that will ruin your chances of retiring early, and most people don't even realize it because it's not some complicated investment technique or something hard to understand. It's simple. And I know this because I have spent the last decade as a financial advisor helping clients avoid the mistakes that delay their retirement. During my 12 years as an advisor, I have helped hundreds of clients avoid the retirement mistakes that delay retiring before 60. In fact, I have helped a few clients already this year retire early. So in this video, I'm here to help you realize the 1 or 2 small mistakes you might be making right now that will keep you chained to your desk well into your 60s. And make sure you stick around at the end of this video because I think the last points are by far the most important. So without further delay, let's get into mistake number 1. You're starting too late, and you aren't saving enough money early in your life. It's never too late to start, but the earlier you start, the better. You get the power of compounding on your side. The earlier you start, the easier it is. You've probably seen the powerful effects of compounding. I'm sure I'm not the first person that has shown you something like this, but here are a few examples that may be a bit different from what you have seen in the past. Let's say you're 60 right now, and you've saved and invested $10,000 into the S&P 500 per year for only 1 decade of your life, and that's all you saved. Let's take a look at each decade. If you saved $10,000 a year in your 50s, you would have $353,000. If you saved $10,000 a year in your 40s, you would have $695,000. If you saved $10,000 a year in your 30s, you would have $992,000. And if you did all those years, you would have watched $300,000 become almost $1.8 million. Imagine what this would be if you started in your 20s. Now, there are a few takeaways from this. $10,000 today, adjusted for inflation, was $20,000 back in 1995 when you were 30 years old. It's a tall order back then when income levels were a lot less. But the main point is that if you do the hard work early in your life, you can save significantly less and be ahead. Just for fun, I'm going to show you one more graph of Warren Buffett's net worth. It shows how much money he was worth over the years. Warren Buffett is an incredible example because of his age and his ability to live within his means. But 99% of his net worth came after he was at the age of 50. Not because he is making more or saving more each year, but mainly because of the power of compounding. Think about the stock market over the last 5 years, up 109%. This chart starts to look absurd because when you double $50 billion, you get $100 billion. But the same principles are working for you, just on a different scale. Most of us doubled our money from $50,000 to $100,000 or $500,000 to $1 million, but you have the same principle working in that the market is doing that on your behalf. This leads right into point number 2. You're not intentional about your spending and money habits. As a behavioral financial advisor, I see this all the time. You're telling me you want to save money for retirement, and that is the top priority for your family. But then when we uncover your expenses, your behaviors around money are telling a much different story. Many of you have great incomes, well over $200,000. Doctors, lawyers, top salespeople. But then you have a BMW and a Lexus in your garage, each carrying $700 a month burden. We're talking $20,000 plus per year when you consider insurance and maintenance. Then I see these same people taking $20,000 a year vacations, and let's not talk about the mortgage, eating out, and other things that we aren't going to touch on in this video. What's left? $100 a month, if that, or even worse, you're carrying credit card debt. So I'm not talking about everyone here. If you found that to be a little bit too personal though, you know deep down there are a few things you can clean up financially. I also mention these things because I want you to have nice stuff, but I want you to be able to afford that nice stuff. Pay yourself first in saving and investing, then with the leftover money, get the nice stuff. You may have heard of the 50-30-20 rule, where 50% of your gross income is needs. Think about food and shelter. 30% is wants. Think nicer vacation, nicer car, and 20% is savings. But the key here is you got to do that 20% first. You got to pay yourself first. Then you got to do the needs next, the 50 next. I have seen people do this in the wrong order, and they're giving themselves a 30% wants becomes 35, becomes 45, becomes 55% of your income, and next thing you know, you're in credit card debt wondering how you got there. I will admit though, it's become a lot harder with the cost of living, with rent and mortgages being higher and a larger percentage of your income these days. So I just want to get back to my original point, and that is, what is the real goal with your money? Do the hard work early in your career and you'll experience the same exponential growth of your money like we saw in our earlier examples in your 30s and 40s. Don't wait until you're 50, it might be too late. The third point is that you spend too much of your time trying to beat the stock market when it's extremely hard to do. Even if you picked Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, you probably spend a ton of time thinking about it. And let's say you were correct and you did happen to pick the right stocks. How much money did you actually make? A few $100, a few thousand? You did all of that work and research for very little actual reward. You're spending hundreds of hours a year doing something that's worth very little of your time. And let's not forget about the losers of your trades, the AMC, Rivian, and Chewy. How about using that time and energy and put that into a side hustle that has the potential to earn you much more money, or learning a new skill at work that gets you a raise or promotion? Those are much more fruitful and worthy of your time. And let me show you one more screenshot here. These are the top stock holdings from a decade ago in the S&P 500. A lot is there, but a lot is different. Do you think you would have been able to pick all of those winners? The last point that I will say is that people who can't retire before the age of 60 don't actually follow the advice we just spoke about. And the sad part is, you actually know all of these things. I don't think I just gave you a list of hard to understand concepts that only a few people can figure out. But the majority of the people that aren't doing the basic things that we mentioned above are not going to be retiring early. You've let 1 year of mistakes turn into 5 years, turn into a decade, turn into a lifetime of poor decisions. But look, I have faith in you. You're here watching these videos, trying to better your financial education, and that's something to be admired. But don't just stop there. Actually implement it. The great thing in shooting for 60 in retirement is that even if you are off by a few years, you will still get to retire early and have flexibility in taking control of your financial future. One of the things that make my practice a bit different is that not only are we going to look to maximize your accounts, I am also an accountability partner to your success. We write down what you want to accomplish and we measure that success over time. We align your values with your long-standing goals, and we talk about how we can ensure your habits allow you to live a fulfilling life, one that balances the things that you want to do right now with the life you also want to live later. If this sounds like you and you want a team of professionals to analyze your situation and create an optimal plan completely tailored to you, click on that first link in the description. It will take you to a page where you can book a free consultation with me, where we can begin to implement the retirement of your dreams.